Welcome to the GreatBase Tennis Podcast. I'm Steve Smith, co-host Dave Anderson. I'm coming to you from Florida. Dave's coming to you from Texas, and we're going to talk about the tennis golden growth opportunity. Dave, why don't you say a few words?
Well, I think it's an amazing event. I know that when you held a similar event in Tampa, I sent a handful of pros down to it, and I think it jump-started their careers in terms of gaining a really, really good idea of where they needed to go with their career. All of them have gone on and been very successful in their own ways. I look forward to it to continue to learn myself. I think that parents, it's a situation where you just can't miss it. Kids will benefit more than a month at any training environment that they could ever go to. I mean, it sets the course. It lays the foundation for solid, continuous growth. Whether player, parent, coach, teacher, tennis fanatic that just wants to improve at their, in their own games, whatever the case, I just think it's an incredible opportunity. And South Florida, December, for those of you that live in the other climate, it's a great way to spend 3-4 days.
Yeah, you and I are snowbirds. I'm from as far north as you can go in New York, Potsdam, New York. You're from Minot, North Dakota. That reminds me that no charge for children if they're accompanied by a teacher, a coach, a parent. It's $365. All the proceeds will go to the tennis team at Ave Maria University. I think that's a good number because if people attend, it's going to help you 365 days a year. Another powerful number is 24. It's going to be 24 hours, 3 8-hour days. Just trying to get the word out. I think we can make it annual. I think one thing about doing, I know when you sent your team down from Dallas, from Brookhaven several years ago, a lot of college coaches are recruiting. There's the Eddie Hurd, there's the Orange Bowl. They find themselves in Florida during the semester break. Or just this week, I'm going to go to Hamburg. I come back. I go to San Antonio. I'm going to go to Toronto. And doing these different workshops. But the one I think we have in Florida, we need to build off of it. We need to have it become a reunion with alumni and associates coming to it and meet new people. Just don't think enough people, I was told, we're like a underground rock band, make good music, but nobody knows who we are. I think we've gained a little momentum since those days. But yeah, December 18th to December 20th, inland from Naples. I wrote down like a match and how to get here, figured out. If people could come this year, but I think we could build upon it and God willing do it for many years to come. What we want to do, that we're using the word golden, not that Dave or I have an inflated opinion of ourselves and think we're golden, but carrying the torch from tennis teachers from the past. Previous short podcasts like this in new form, we've each named one. Why don't you name one, Dave, and I'll name one more, and we'll be up to 6 because we have 8 pillars.
I think, again, Peter Burwash, who had his base here at the Woodlands down near the Houston area. I mean, he had so many different things, but I actually was talking about him in a staff meeting the other day with our group because when I think of Peter Burwash in general, I think of professionalism. I was trying to talk to our pros, about our coaching staff, about, leaning on baskets, grabbing the cell phones for use other than work and how that would be perceived in the old Peter Burwash organizations. And, I think of this is really more just from the coaching standpoint. I just think of this level of professionalism that was so abnormal that I think people on the outside perceived it as almost cult-like. And, but I really appreciated it. And I thought that they were way, way ahead of the industry in that regard.
Peter Burwash just recently passed away. He listened to the podcast that we dedicated for him, about him. And his health didn't allow him, but he dictated a letter. It was very moving to get a letter from Peter Burwash. But Peter Burwash, he was the first. He put us on the map. When Tyler Junior College Tennis Tech program revised his general recreation curriculum, and on his own nickel, Peter came up and he was there first. And then every year after that, we had his organization come and run those were 25-hour weekends. We'd start on Friday and go through Sunday. And no, Burwash, what energy. I recently, we did a workshop out in Hawaii, and Peter was based in Hawaii, Honolulu, before he went to Houston. Canadian hockey player, professionalism, provides service. Peter used to say that tennis pros are one step above a beach bum. Back in the day, I remember training pros to show up, and a little more difficult for me with the gals, but with the guys, okay, you can show up with a khaki pair of pants and a blue shirt, a tie, and a blazer. And you don't look like you're overdressed with that sport coat underneath your arm. But with Peter, he would reprimand you if when you showed up, you didn't show up with a coat and tie. But along with Peter, let's talk about Harry Hopman. The late Hopman what comes to your mind with, he's one of the pillars?
Hard work. I think that would probably be turning over in his grave if he saw culturally some of the things going on in our sport. I think of hard work. That name always is synonymous with me with my youth because, we were a big family. We didn't have a lot of resources for extracurricular activity. But my doubles partner, his father was a physician and used to go to Hopman's 2-3 times a year. And I remember just picking his brain from when I was 12 years old on. He would come back. He was a little older than me and just talk about the incredible, incredible work ethic that you had to have to survive. He'd go 2-3 weeks at a time. And the guy's work ethic of what he demanded on the court, I think, was second to none. And I think that we could all use a little bit of that.
Joe Brandy and the late Andy Brandy, that was my connection to showing up at Hopman's and just watching the workouts. All the people used to call me up. I mean, that used to stop me in my tracks. I'd get a phone call from Harry Hopman, Mr. Hopman. They'd count how many balls in your hopper. If you had 77 balls in your hopper and you handed in 75, you'd be fined $2. So it was just amazing how everybody handed in more balls at the end of the day. They'd be looking for tennis balls. Old school, I mean, you just know the history, the success of the Aussies. He was a very, very good player as well. Yeah, the work ethic. He's one of the pillars. Welby Van Horn is another one of the 6, of the 8, I should say, that was never actually on campus, but he would hire students, Mr. Hopman and Peter Burwash as well. I do think of my son playing tennis for Ty Tucker. You have someone like Chuck Creasy's been on our podcast, and he was a disciple of Hopman. Just fitness and more fitness and more fitness ahead of their time. Where Hopman at the end of the day. Back then, perhaps, for definitely wasn't a sport specific, but 2 sessions. And at the end of the day, you could pick out one player to have a beer with him and everybody else had to run 10 miles. Like it was nothing. It's like it was nothing. Back in the 60s, 50s and 60s, we certainly, the Americans, we had a dark history with the Vietnam War, like the Stan Smiths and the Arthur Ashes of the world. They were not only in college, but they were in the Army while they were in college. Cliff Ritchie was a player an American from San Angelo, Texas, who I think of him being like the Aussies, where he didn't go to college. He just was out there playing. But yeah, the story of the greats. The Mr. Hopman, his work and his connection to tennis, his contributions to tennis shouldn't be forgotten. Just like with Peter Burwash. I think Peter being so creative, they would come in, the PBI pros, and it was very difficult to be selected through PBI and to go through their training. A lot of, classy people worked for Peter back in the day, and everything from what you do with the bulletin board, what you do with the camera, just as far as memorabilia, creating an experience. So I shouldn't say necessarily memorabilia, but memories for just the weekend activity. But the two of them, I think overall, who are the headliners today? Who do the young coaches of today in the U.S., for example, who are the leaders? I know we have internet gurus. When you think about headliners, and I'm not so big on, even though I've been a junkie for tennis conferences, that you're much better off to go, I think, to watch somebody work for a week, than to go and listen to all these different people speak for 1 hour. I say that as we're promoting a conference, a weekend workshop. I think ours has a little different spin to it because we're going to talk about tennis teachers from the past. It's not like, well, this is how I think. This is how's it go in the internet world. I've discovered the 7 secrets of the serve, year 3, but for the other 4, you have to give me your credit card by midnight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that I like it when people take shots or they can take a shot. There's a lot of shots taken our way for sure. People that have questions, I'd encourage you to ask them at the workshops and let it go. Yesterday I was in a conversation and somebody mentioned a coach that's all over, and they said they're a great coach. And I said, are they? I said, how do you know? Have you ever seen them work? I said, have you ever seen the developmental pathway of some of their players? But I think that the perception in this day and time is somebody sitting in the stands on TV. It's not linked to this kind of group of people that we've been really giving well-deserved credit to. I think it's just whoever's sitting in the box with a marquee player, they're viewed as one of the leading coaches. That's kind of where our world is. We're high on sizzle and really not that attracted to substance.
I don't think many people in the industry have actually taken a beginner to the point of then they're knocking on the door to win, national titles and then go play at a prestigious or competitive university. With, I think another thing too, to play on the conscience of tennis coaches. Recently we made an educational tape for college coaches that are directors of summer camps. It's about player development. We can help people with their team, but also to, be a pillar in your community. I mean, I really think that it's not ideal for a coach just to say, well, we have this franchise come in, and, I know obviously people know the names. It could be Wilson, it could be Nike, and they can be, those camps could be outstanding, but is there really a curriculum to those camps? Peter Burwash, Professionalism and Service with Harry Hopman, fitness and more fitness, respect is hard work, but it'd be very good to touch upon those two.
Yeah.
Let's sign off. And, for our listeners, if you have any questions, certainly you can just contact us. My email is pretty simple. AOL. If you have an AOL email address, it means you're not going to get the job. smiths10s@aol.com. 3 S's. smiths10s@aol.com. The phone number is 813-966-2607. 813-966-2607. Even if someone can just come for a day, but again, it's for parents, players, coaches, teachers, program owners and operators. But Dave, thanks for listening. Thanks for helping, I should say. Listeners, thanks for listening. Adios, amigos.
Okay. Have a good day.
Yeah.